Welcome, everybody, to The Brief, a new show from Brand Innovators where we will dive into the wide world of marketing and advertising, talking about the biggest topics facing today's marketing industry leadership, the work that they are leading, and most importantly, getting to know some of the people behind your favorite campaigns. I'm your host, David Teicher, and in each episode, I'll be speaking with some of the most influential and innovative marketing professionals and industry leaders about their brands, their creative process, and their most successful campaigns. In today's episode, I'm joined by the wonderful Brad Sims, CEO and President of Gale Partners, and Woon Rani, Chief Executive Officer of MilkPEP. We're going to go behind the scenes into their latest campaign featuring Aubrey Plaza, all around wood milk, and how it all came together. But first, I'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to our wonderful partners at Empire Originals for helping bring this whole series to life. So thank you, Katie and team. Thank you, Empire Originals. We wouldn't be here without you. And with that, I'd like to welcome to our virtual stage, Yin and Brad. Welcome.
Hi, David. Always good to see you.
Always great to see you. How you doing?
Good.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. I loved the video. I loved the campaign. As soon as I saw it drop, Brian and I spoke, and we're like, we got to reach out and talk about how this whole thing came to life. So for those who haven't seen it yet, I'd like to show the ad. So can we play the Got Wood campaign, please?
Have you ever looked at a tree and thought, can I drink this? I did. Hi, I'm Aubrey Plaza, co-founder of Wood Milk, the world's first and only milk made from wood. Here at Wood Milk Orchards, we're certain that our artisanal wood milk will be the only milk you'll want to drink for the rest of your life. Why? Because I said so. Our wood milk is bottled right here in the forest where the trees hit the dirt, which locks in the flavors like cherry, maple, and of course mahogany. And if you can't pick your favorite, that's okay, because they all taste like wood. Here's how wood milk is born. Not born, exactly. More like squished into a slime that's legal to sell. Let's give it a try. Got wood? Is wood milk real? Absolutely not. Only real milk is real. Then what did I invest in?
I love it. As a product of the 90s and the iconic initial Got Milk campaign that I just remember so strongly from childhood, and growing up in a real milk drinking household, I love it. Aubrey's clearly at the top of her game, right? SNL, White Lotus, obviously Parks and Rec. So I'm so excited to hear about this. So let's start off. How did this whole thing come to life? Where did the idea come from before we get into the casting and the creative? Like, where did the idea come from?
Yeah, I mean, the conversation, of course, of dairy milk versus alternatives has been going on for a very long time. I think one of the catalytic things that happened was the FDA issued a guidance suggesting that all kinds of plant-based milk could be called milk as long as the nutritional difference was disclosed. And so I think that created a little bit of impetus for us to just encourage people to understand that not all milk is created equal. And by inventing essentially a fake product that has zero nutritional value and comparing that to a real original milk, we really wanted to just get that conversation going and get people educated and informed in an entertaining way that, was not critical and not too serious, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the impetus of it all. But I'll give Gale a lot of credit for coming up with such a creative way of dealing with the topic.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think that's really great about the work we do with MilkPEP is how we're able to monitor what's happening in culture and then, frankly, materially move on it. I think, a lot of great agencies out there are able to move small little images or a TikTok campaign or something shot on an iPhone down by the river. And I think that's an important part of marketing nowadays. But I think seeing this conversation happen, the conversation around milk and alternatives and all of that, and then be able to lean into it in a material way, not only with like a 60-second with Aubrey, but also website and fake accounts and out of home and TikTok. And, I said, Ian and I are constantly talking about how we had 17,000 people join our fake Instagram account. You know what I mean? And so like doing something at scale, at velocity, I think is a little bit of the magic of MilkPEP and Gale and what we're doing right now. I think, you want to be small in the moment, Super Bowl commercial, or so Super Bowl happens, something happens right then, but then really taking a swing and being able to move quickly, I think is it's also fun. And I think this work shows a little bit of that.
And what was that? I mean, speed is the name of the game these days, and I understand this all came together pretty quickly. What was that timing like from kind of the initial idea to bringing it, and like you're saying, not just the 60-second, but all these components that you had as part of it?
Yeah, I think we worked in about a 5-week period. So that is from the idea to reaching out to Aubrey through her agent, getting her involved, getting the writers' room going with the Gale writers, and Neil Casey, who's someone that she works with, and including the folks on MilkPEP, and getting the production, the site, and the spot, and all of that, and then getting it live. I think was just a few days over 5 weeks. So that's it's a pretty tight time frame. I think when you're dealing with all those assets, literally hundreds of assets, built a site that did commerce, allowed us to found a partner to do some give back. Also, I think we've become we've set the bar in our relationship between Milk and Gale around velocity. I think we've had some pretty crazy runs to this point, but I don't know, Ian, this might take the cake.
Yeah, towards the end, Brad was about to say, this is a minor miracle that it's launching. And then he caught himself. He was like, no, it's not a minor miracle. It's a big miracle. So that's very fair, sir.
Right? You don't want to be a victim of your own success, because now 5 weeks is going to be the expected turnaround, right, for everything you do. And it's tough in this business. But I want to go back to what you said, Yin, where you wanted to do something entertaining and informative. And I think that's an understatement, right? Because entertainment was really, I was laughing. Everybody that I know just loved it. The deadpan humor. So can you talk a little bit about that? And I know, bringing in Aubrey and casting her, and where she, how that came about, and working with Saturday Night Live, and because it's really read like an SNL spoof parody commercial that they're known for. So how did that all come to life?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of skill, strategy, and a lot of luck, if I'm honest with you. One of the bars we did set ourselves, because we created the script before we knew Aubrey would come on board, but there was always this bar of it had to be real funny, not advertising funny. And we definitely took inspiration from the notion of Saturday Night Live as the kind of comedic bar. It had to be funny on its own right. Aubrey was the illustrative celebrity in the script. But in my career, how many times have I presented scripts and we're like, don't fall in love with her because she's never going to say yes. And then fast forward, through Gale and Observatory and other connection points, Brad was like, I think she might say yes. I'm like, no way, no way. But actually, I think her agreement to do it, one, I think spoke to the quality of the idea, that someone as you say, at the very peak of her career was interested in doing it when she doesn't do a lot of branded materials. And then it just added fuel to this idea of, if you were going to launch a plant-based product for real, what would it look and feel like, and create that whole experience. And so Gale and the extended team did a nice job of leaning way into the shtick while still delivering the message that, real milk was behind it. But I think the Aubrey factor was a big deal.
So, I mean, absolutely. And she being at that peak, right, coming off of White Lotus, and just her style was so perfect for it. So let me ask, what have you seen since it launched? And thinking about your objectives with the campaign, how do you measure if something like this is successful?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we are always trying to do with milk is put it in a cultural conversation. Frankly, milk is a really unique product because it has 100% awareness, and everyone knows it, right? So this is not an awareness game. We're not trying to be like, oh, look at milk. Frankly, it would probably be an easier job if we didn't have such high awareness. So I think what we're trying to do is just get it in the conversation. I think one of the things that's really interesting about the product in the category of milk is that some of our best consumers are drinking a ton of different beverages. Like, I mean, that's just the facts, right? Their fridges are stocked with beverages, milk, water, sports drinks, alternate milks. They are high consumers of liquid. And so just making sure we're in that conversation, I think, is really important. And so the KPI in this specific work, which is not our total KPI for the work we do with MilkPEP, but was really just to spark conversation and get a conversation going, and also, I suppose, be a little unexpected. I think probably when we launched this, that was the biggest feedback. Was it's funny, it's legitimately funny, it's not ad funny, but it's also like, and this is from milk. I think, and I think
Right.
that's a little bit of the KPI. So I mean, I think we definitely succeeded in the conversation. It's about there being a dialogue. This is not about us convincing folks to only drink milk. That is not what we're trying to do.
Right.
I think obviously our partnership with Aubrey was really critical to doing that. Perfect casting, deadpan humor, and the approach to it is just you could, as Ian said, we envisioned it with her, and I think it was part of the magic.
Yeah, I mean, just to put some numbers to that, from an earned media coverage standpoint, in a really short span of time, like 10 days or so, I think we received over 2 billion earned impressions. That's as much as we had received all of last year. And we were doing a really good job last year in getting earned. Don't get me wrong, it was not a low bar. We have something like 40 million views on TikTok, 5 million views on YouTube. And Brad and I always laugh about the Instagram followers. I don't know what to do with them now. I'm so sorry. There's no real product. And I think it was a great conversation. It was polarizing. There was positive and negative sentiment, in all honesty, but I think we were very prepared for that. We knew entering this conversation would create strong opinions on both sides, and I think that's fine. I think sometimes people let the fear of that negative sentiment stop themselves from being in the conversation. Our thesis is the conversation is happening whether you're in it or not, so you might as well put your point of view and be prepared to take some of the negativity that comes with that.
I love that, right? You have to take risks. You have to be part of the conversation, right? If you want that cultural relevance, right? And clearly that was achieved. So let me ask then, how does this campaign, right? Clearly this was successful in driving that conversation, driving that earned media and earned coverage. How does it fit into the broader objectives you have at MilkPEP or sort of the bigger picture?
Yeah. I mean, when you think about our MilkPEP strategy, there are multiple ways in which we get to getting content into market. We have a pretty consistent, always on strategy, just educating folks about values and benefits of drinking milk that they might not be aware of. We are in TikTok, we're in programmatic, we're in, retail media networks. We have a very large group of influencers that work. And for us, we think of that as an always on drumbeat of marketing and an modern family audience focus that we're trying to get a continual conversation going with. I think on top of that, we try to take advantage, frankly, of these cultural windows. And that's where the speed really is important. Back last November, when we participated in the New York City Marathon, that came together in 80 days, which we thought was almost something we couldn't replicate. And then our participation and commitment around International Women's Day, I think, was 7 weeks. And then Wood Milk was 5 weeks. And so you can see that as we try to get closer to those moments of culture, and all of those are at scale. All of those are at scale cultural activations. But they sit on top of a very, very deep base of always on, audience focused, sequential messaging that I think is really core. I think, as Yin is a storied and long-time marketer on the brand side and even on the agency side way back in the day, I think you see sometimes brands that just sit on those pillars, but they do those cultural pillars, but they don't sit on any foundation. And so they kind of shake and they disappear, and they shake and they disappear. I think as we entered last year, collectively, we agreed, build a foundation. So when we sit interesting cultural work on top of it, it's situated on a base that just continues to move and grow, as opposed to cultural stunts for the sake of cultural stunts, and then they're gone and there's nothing actually there. And so I think we've been very planful together on how we've built this, frankly, over the last year and a half, to get to a spot where we are doing work like this. And, great results and great marketing, I don't think happens overnight. No one remembers the last 15 months, but everyone remembers that 60-second wood milk.
Absolutely. I mean, and to your point, I mean, the speed at which you're increasingly moving is very impressive. And I think, right, if you're looking to be culturally relevant and be part of these conversations, you have to be able to move quickly. Otherwise, you're too late, right? So that's a impressive in and of itself. But I want to go back. You mentioned International Women's Day. Am I correct in understanding that you're only featuring women in the campaigns in 2023?
That's correct. We made that public commitment around International Women's Day, inspired by the really shocking statistic that only 5% of sports media coverage still today features female athletes. I mean, practically unthinkable. So I think we believe often in action as well as advertising. And so we wanted to use our little set of resources to try to move that number along. So we are only featuring female athletes. This is a journey we've been on over time. And we're trying all the time when possible to use female talent behind the camera as well, our photographers, our creators, our directors, et cetera, et cetera. So, and hopefully that will inspire some change. And again, an important conversation. As you know, David, I'm very involved in diversity, the agenda overall in the marketing industry. So I'm happy and excited to be able to use MilkPEP in an appropriate way to drive some change. But that statistic, I had them check it, I kid you not, 10 times. I was like, there's no way that number is right. It can't be 5%. And multiple sources, and shockingly persistent. I think it's been that number for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's that definitely needs to change. And I think when you have, right, when you think about our industry and the brands and the advertisers that can put money and sponsorship and behind female athletes and putting more women into behind the scenes as well, and using the resources that we have and using the platforms that we have, that's incredibly admirable, right? And we're doing what we can to move the needle. So I think that's fantastic. And there was another element, which again I think you touched on a second earlier on, which is that there was a charitable component to the Got Wood campaign as well. Can you talk about that for a second? With the you were planting trees, right? So it's not just that you were teasing and poking fun, but you were actually again trying to make a real impact there as well.
Do you want to talk about that again? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I think it was again part of the parody idea. If like I was launching this for real, what would I do? And so I think it's just was sort of extending the humor and putting us in the sort of a sustainability conversation around trees and planting trees. But it was a little bit of part of the humor of launching something called Wood Milk for the first time. I think our most substantive cause-related donation is actually to Girls on the Run. As part of our commitment to female performance and female athleticism, we're making an up to $1 million donation to Girls on the Run based on sponsoring female runners, female marathon runners to join Team Milk. So we'll match the registration fee with an equivalent donation to Girls on the Run, which is a wonderful national but with local chapter organization trying to encourage to keep girls healthy and active, because as you know, there tends to be a big drop off of girls, especially as they enter the teen years, to just not feeling like they can participate in sports anymore. So yes, we're excited about the tree planting thing, but I think our more material cause continues to be behind our core strategy of milk as a performance drink.
I love it. I mean, that's so wonderful. I'm excited to see all of this stuff come to life and continue to develop. So what can we expect next for MilkPEP and for MilkPEP and Gale together? Anything else in the pipeline that you can tease for us?
Oh, I mean, there's always stuff in the pipeline, David. And of course, we're not going to tease it for you. But I mean, I think as we move into the summer months, focusing on teens and tweens. I think one of the other interesting things about our Always On platform, you talked about everyday performance and female running, is also being the performance drink of gamers. We know that sports and performance is a wide range, right? It's not just getting out and running the New York City Marathon, but it's defined much more broadly. And I think our activation at TwitchCon last year took people by surprise, the fact that we showed up there, and we're committed to being the performance drink of gamers. And so, as we move into the summer months, you might see some work coming out in and around that zone, which we're really excited about, with some collaborations and really leaning into that critical audience for us. And so, keep your eyes out. You might see something coming in the end of June, July timeframe.
That
I
will be
love it.
that will be on a 3-week timeline since we seem to be shaving weeks off every round soon. Soon it'll be 24 hours. So
Yeah.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, be careful because that's going to shrink until you're doing 1-day turnarounds, Brad. That's a tough spot. And then every other brand is going to come knocking on your door. Hey, I heard you could do this in 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
That's a good calling card. But this is fantastic. I'm really excited to see more of this amazing work. And to your point, earlier, I just love the idea for entertainment and humor of, is this really funny? Not just advertising funny. Is it really funny? Right? I was out there the other day in the Mother's Day card section looking for cards, and it's like, this is in the funny section, but by whose standards is this funny, right? And I think we all need to make sure that bar is really high. If you want to entertain people and really capture people's attention, keeping that bar high, and I think that you were really successful in this. So congratulations on that. I'm excited to see more amazing work coming from this wonderful duo, and we'll hope to have you on our stage at a Brand Innovators event soon, talking about the next fun event or efforts. Yes.
great, thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, David.
All right. Thank you, Yin. Thank you, Brad. This has been fantastic. Really appreciate your time today. With that, I would like to thank everybody watching for joining us today. Thank you again to Yin and Brad, our wonderful guests. Thank you to our partners at Empire Originals for once again helping us bring this series to life. And really just thank you to the Brand Innovators community for supporting all that we do. We hope to see you back here for the next episode or perhaps our next in-person event around the country. So keep an eye and an ear out and you'll hear from us soon. See you next time.